The Mighty Miss Malone, Chapter 16, Back in Lake Myth Again. I couldn't sleep that night. I just couldn't ignore the voices coming through the walls from Mother and Father's bedroom. They'd started out whispering, but their voices were getting louder. Mother's was the loudest. "That's not true. I heard Mrs. Carsdale say." Father said, "What choice do I have? It will be better for all of us in the long run." I shouldn't have been eavesdropping, but the sound of your parents' voices being so frightened is something you can't pull away from. And I'd never heard Mother and Father argue before. "Margaret, what can I do? What can I say to my babies when there's no work anywhere? Didn't you tell me that they were even making old man Carsdale take a pay cut? And if the white president of a bank is having his pay cut, what chance do I have? Look at me. Look at this mouth. I couldn't find work when my face was whole. Who'd hire someone with a busted up, snaggled tooth mouth? What chance do I have to find enough work to buy even a loaf of bread? Roscoe, listen. No one's starving here. The welfare food is good enough until." Father raised his voice, which was something he usually did only if he was unhappy. "Welfare food? How low have we gone that being fed by welfare is normal for us? I heard Jimmy and that Ogburn boy talking the other day, and the boy asked Jimmy what kind of cheese was on a sandwich. Jimmy told him yellow cheese, and the boy said, 'No, what brand is it?' Do you know what Jimmy said? He told him, 'I don't know. I guess it's not to be sold cheese.' Peg, it's gotten so bad that our son thinks that the label they stamp on all the welfare food is a brand name." Mother said, "Well, Jimmy is, I don't know, Jimmy is Jimmy." Father said, "Even the welfare food isn't enough for all of us. I feel as though every bite I take is one less for the rest of you. I might as well reach in your mouths and pull it out." "No, Roscoe, no. And you don't think I see that you eat next to nothing? You don't think I notice that?" Mother snapped. "You're the one who refuses to eat anything. I told you I get plenty at the Carsdales." Father's voice got soft. "Peg, haven't you noticed? Haven't you looked in the mirror? Sweetheart, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. But darling, what is this?" The room went quiet. Father said, "Since when did your cheekbones stick out like this? And why do your clothes hang on you now?" There was a long pause before Mother laughed. "Me? What about you? If your legs get any skinnier, you'll have to use tape to hold your socks up." When I heard Father laugh, I relaxed a bit, but a little too soon. "Peg, I can't do it. I'll find work back in Flint. I know folks there. There'll be something for me. I can't blame anyone in Gary for not helping. In tough times, people tend to look after their own. I'll send money, and once I'm settled, I'll send for you." Mother said, "Oh, Roscoe Malone, do you know how many women and children have heard some version of those words? And it turns out to be the last thing they ever hear from their husbands or fathers? Ever? Peg, you know me. I give my word. But what if that's not enough? What if this depression goes on for so long that you can't find work even in Flint? What good is your word then? Roscoe, we're at our strongest when we're all together, when we're a family. If you leave, how long do you think it'll be before Jimmy goes? How long before I lose Deza? You're making it sound like this is something I want to do. Peg, do you have any idea how it rips me apart just to come home every day? Every day I go out and there's nothing. Nothing but a city full of other men no one needs, where the next person is desperate enough to work for less than the last person. I just can't do it anymore. There have been evenings where I've stood at the front door for 15, 20 minutes, too ashamed to come in, too ashamed to have nothing in my hands but my hat. Mother said, "Why are you taking this so personal? You have nothing to be ashamed of, Roscoe. No one has work. No one has food." Father said, "Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not shame. Maybe it's fear. Maybe I'm afraid that one day I'll come in here and see the love and concern on all your faces, see the way you and the kids work so hard to make me feel better, and I'll lose my mind. I'll be so hurt, so angry, so desperate that I'll go out into the streets and do something horrible. Something to get food or coal or clothes, something that would allow me to feed my family, something that would allow me to feel like a human being and not some animal in a zoo waiting for a handout. What kind of world is it when even when I can find work, and even when you work 40 hours, we still can't afford to have our babies looked after proper? Roscoe, we have to have patience." "Patience? Patience? Do you have any idea how it kills me to come in that door and see my boy and know that he stopped growing? To know that all we can afford is to take him to Doc Taylor, a man who's so old and stuck in his ways, he probably delivered George Washington." "Roscoe, listen. No. Do you know what I automatically do every day when Deza runs up to me to give me a hug and kiss? Do you know I find myself turning my face or breathing out of my mouth the minute I'm close to her? Do you know why? Mother softly said, "Oh, Roscoe, no, don't say that." I stopped breathing. Father said, "It's true, Peg. You don't want to hear it. I don't want to say it, but it's the truth. I found I can't breathe out my nose when I'm near Deza because of the smell of her teeth. How sick is that? How pathetic am I that I can't even breathe normally around my own child?" The room was quiet for a full minute. Tears stung my eyes. I tried to stop listening, but Father said, "And I know you, Peg. I know you're going through the same thing. We both know that that little brown skinned angel is something beyond special. You know if there's any chance in the future, it's riding on her narrow shoulders. So you tell me how I can come home empty handed, knowing that that sassy, smart, beautiful, charming little girl, my mighty Miss Malone, is slowly rotting away on the inside, and we can't afford to get her teeth looked after. We can't even get them pulled. If I come home and see that the spark that makes Deza so precious is gone, I'll hate myself." Mother said, "Oh, please, Roscoe, stop." Father said, "I don't know which is worse, the smell of her rotting teeth or the smell of the camphor you get from those white people to soak in cotton and stick in her cavities." I'm at my wit's end. I cannot do it one more time. Peg, I'll end up killing someone. Mother said, "This isn't a good time for you to be deciding something this big. Don't you see, dear? This is the horrible letdown of Joe losing that fight. This is you still grieving about your friends. You need to heal. You need to give it time. Give it time. All I ask for is a couple more months. We've come this far together and we need to stay together. Give it some time." I could hear Father jump up. I was surprised that he had his shoes on upstairs this late at night. They thudded over and over as he paced the bedroom. "Time? What am I supposed to do? Should I tell Jimmy? Son, hold on. We just need a little time before we can get you to a doctor who will tell us why you haven't grown in 3 years? And what about Deza? Am I going to tell her, 'Hold on, darling, in another year or two you'll get those teeth taken care of. In the meantime, just snap the bad ones off at the roots.'" His pacing stopped. "Roscoe, stop and listen to yourself. All we need is a little more time. And we don't have any more time, Peg. We've run out." Mother's tone changed. "Oh, so since time's run out, your answer is for you to run out too?" There was silence. Then, "I'm sorry. I have to go. I'll write soon as I get settled. I love you." Their bedroom door opened, then shut. I heard nothing from Mother. Father's shoes slowly clomped down the stairs. I ran to my bedroom door and watched my father sinking down the staircase. He stopped at Jimmy's door, tapped twice, then went in. I slumped down in my doorway and waited for him to come out. I was surprised that my second brain was keeping so quiet. It's such a worthless brain. When you don't want to hear from it, you can't stop running its mouth. Times like this, when you could use some noise to drown everything out, or when you'd appreciate a little advice about who you should hurt, that no good brain chooses to be quiet. I can't say how long I waited in the doorway. Jimmy's door came open and Father looked back into the room. "I love you, son. I'll send for you. You'll like Flint. I can't say how long it's going to take, but I promise we'll be back together." He closed the door and stopped to lean against the railing. I started crawling into my room. I know Father. He was coming to see me next. I wasn't halfway into the room when I heard Jimmy's door come open. Father must have turned around and gone back in to tell Jimmy something else. I slipped back to look down the steps. It was Jimmy who had opened the door. He threw himself at Father and wrapped his arms around Father's waist from behind. "Daddy, don't go," Jimmy cried into Father's back. "I don't like school anyway. I can look for work. Even when school starts back up, I can help with the bills. Just stay." Father pulled Jimmy off his back, and the two of them slumped onto the steps. Jimmy was inconsolable. Father pulled him into his lap. What broke my heart was that Jimmy, who hated more than anything stuff that made him look smaller, weak, or young, didn't stop Father as he cuddled him like a baby in his arms. Father kissed Jimmy's forehead and wiped at his tears. "Son, son, son. I can't do it, Daddy. I'll have the pie lady paid off in no time. Then I can get a job paying cash. Please, give me a chance. Don't you remember what you call me?" Father said, "Of course I do, son. You're my genuine, gentle, jumping giant, Jimmy." "That's right. And don't forget about Deza. I bet she'll work too. Even with all the reading and studying she does. I'll bet you she'll find time to chip in too. With all four of us working, we can be good again. Go ask her. Ask her now. She'll do it, Daddy. You know how she is. You know she's a champ." Father said, "Yes, she is, Jimmy. But I explained it and you promised me, son. I need all of you to look after things while I'm gone. I'm only asking because I know I can count on you." Jimmy scooted out of his father's lap and sat beside him. They wrapped their arms around each other. "I promised, Father," Jimmy sniffed, "and I'm just like you, a man of my word. I'll do anything you ask me to do. We'll look after each other, Pa. I swear we'll be all right. I'll do whatever I have to, and I won't tell a soul about what really happened out on—" Father put his hand across Jimmy's mouth and stood up. "Go try and get some sleep, son. I've got to say goodbye to Deza." Jimmy ran into his room and slammed the door. As I creeped back to my bed, the second brain finally decided to start. "Oh God, kiddo, don't let him come say goodbye just to let him leave. If he comes in here, I'll hurt him bad." I closed my door, then crawled under my blanket. I pulled the pillow over my head, but still could hear the slow clomp clomp of Father's feet coming up the steps. The sound stopped outside my room, and the longest time passed before he slightly tapped on my door. "Deza?" I pulled the pillow tighter over my head to stop him from seeing me and to block the smell of my mouth. "May I come in?" I would never answer him. My door opened and I heard a couple of clomps as Father came to me. He stood at the foot of my bed. "Sweetheart, you awake?" "No, no, go, go. Deza, I need to tell you something." I pulled the pillow tighter over my head, held my breath, and prayed he'd leave. Father sighed and said, "I will get us back together, Deza. Please take care of each other. I know it's hard, but we'll get the ship righted as soon as we can." He walked to the side of my bed, and I could feel him lean down. I kept holding my breath, squeezing my pillow tight on my head. He put his hand on the top of the pillow, but didn't tug it away. He said, "Remember, Dardwat, that kisses make you stronger." He pressed his face against my pillow 3 times and clumped to my door and down the steps. I squeezed the pillow to my head even harder. I could feel the spot where Father had put his wet face. I threw the pillow at the door as hard as I could. The second brain yelled, "Quick, kiddo, push him down the steps. He'll break his leg and he'll have to leave." He can't leave. I squeezed my jaws together so hard that little fairies of red-hot light shot out of the back teeth and bounded around inside my skull. Something crunched and cracked inside my mouth, and I got woozy. It worked. The bad brain finally shut up. I knew I could never hurt my father. I let out a cry and was surprised to see how much blood sprayed onto my pillowcase. I heard the front door open and close, and I was glad to see him go.